मीडिया वेव्स तो खबरां दा लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम च आप सब दा स्वागत है।
Khabran Da Lekha Jokha, July 31st, 2024 has been sponsored by Hanif Litigation. Any criminal or regulatory law matters, contact lawyer Shahid Hanif at Hanif Litigation, 604-626-3144. Man charged in connection to Granville Street triple stabbing. The Vancouver Police Department says a man has been charged in connection to a triple stabbing in Vancouver downtown last week. Between 9:40 p.m. and 9:52 p.m. on July 22nd, three men, a 33-year-old, a 41-year-old, and a 32-year-old, were allegedly stabbed on Granville Street between Davis and Nelson Street. The 29-year-old accused was arrested by police just moments after the incident. In an update Wednesday, police say he has now been charged with one count of aggravated assault.
ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫਤੇ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਡਾਊਨਟਾਊਨ ਵਿਖੇ ਗ੍ਰੈਨਵਿਲ ਸਟਰੀਟ ਦੇ ਏਰੀਆ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ 12 ਮਿੰਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਦੌਰਾਨ ਤਿੰਨ ਵਿਅਕਤੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਪਰ ਛੁਰੇਬਾਜ਼ੀ ਚਲਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਦੋਸ਼ ਦੇ ਤਹਿਤ ਗ੍ਰਿਫਤਾਰ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਣ ਚਾਰਜ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਗਿਆ ਹੈ। BPT ਨੇ ਇਸ ਸੂਚਨਾ ਸਭ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝੀ ਕੀਤੀ।
FIFA reveals email from Canada women's soccer coach Bev Pressman on spying. More evidence on spying strategies used by the Canadian women's soccer team has emerged. A public document on FIFA's decision to penalize the Canadian women's soccer team at the Olympics reveals emails on spying from coach Bev Pressman and an analyst. In the document published on the FIFA website dated on Sunday, FIFA says it received an email from Canada Soccer explaining why it decided to suspend Bev Pressman, analyst Joseph Lombardi, and assistant coach Jasmine Mandair because of an Olympic drone spying a scandal last week. Included in an email sent from an unnamed Canada Soccer performance analyst to Pressman on March 20th, following the release of the Olympic draw. The analyst said they had two meetings with Pressman about their roles. As discussed yesterday in terms of spying conversation, I came off the meeting with clarity that you understood my reasons for me being unwilling to do this moving forward. Morality, my own reputation within the analyst fields, potentially being unable to fulfill my role on a match day. Moving forward, I will have a discussion with the fellow analyst Joey Lombardi and reach out to the wider tag team with regards to how we could potentially look for other solutions. But just wanted to confirm that you will not be asking me to fulfill the role of spying in the upcoming camp and future camps. The document then shows an email from Pressman to an unnamed recipient commenting on the previous email, seeking your advice and input were regarding this formal email on spying. It's somewhat the analysts have always done, and I know there is a whole operation on the men's side with regards to it. Yesterday, in a meeting when discussing, I asked the unnamed analyst to propose an alternative solution. As for scouting, it can be the difference between winning and losing, and all top 10 teams do it. I received this from formal email this morning, and so just after guidance here really as to what from a HR standpoint I can do, I need to find another solution in resourcing. It's a tricky one, and it's formal for a reason, I feel. The document also includes an email from Canada Soccer to FIFA stating it believes the spying techniques were started by a previous national men's team administration and continued by Pressman. Lombardi was charged for flying an unwanted aircraft in a restricted place last week after two reported drone incidents at New Zealand practices in France in the days prior to Canada's tournament opening win over New Zealand. On Wednesday, Canada's appeal on FIFA's decision to penalize the team 6 points was dismissed by the Court of Arbitration for Sports. Canada did not appeal the one-year ban handed to Pressman, Mandair, and Lombardi. To Canada, I'm sorry, you have been my home in a country I have fallen in love with, Pressman said in a letter released by her lawyers on the weekend. I hope you will continue to support these extremely talented and hard-working players to help them defy the odds and show their true character. Brisbane's legal representatives did not immediately respond to a Sportsnet request asking for comments on FIFA's document on Wednesday. Because of the FIFA penalty, Canada 2-0 at the Olympics must beat Colombia on Wednesday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific to advance to the knockout stage.
ਓਲੰਪਿਕ ਵਿਖੇ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਕਤਾਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਤੇ ਡਰੋਨ ਦੇ ਸਹਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਵਿਰੋਧੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਟੀਮ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੀ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖਣ ਤੋਂ ਉਪਰੰਤ ਫਿਰ ਆਪਣੀ ਜਿੱਤਣ ਦੀ ਮਨਸੂਬੇ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਮਨਸ਼ਾਹਿਤ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਜਸੂਸੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬੜੀ ਮਹਿੰਗੀ ਪਈ ਔਰ ਇਸ ਦੇ ਕਰਕੇ ਔਰਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਸੌਕਰ ਟੀਮ ਦੇ ਕੋਚ ਸਹਿ ਕੋਚ ਤੇ ਐਨਾਲਿਸਿਸਟ ਨੂੰ ਯਕਦਮ ਆਪਣੀਆਂ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੋਣਾ ਪਿਆ ਬਲਕਿ ਜਿੱਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਗੇਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ 6 ਪੁਆਇੰਟ ਕੱਟੇ ਵੀ ਗਏ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਟੀਮ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਅਪੀਲ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਖਾਰਜ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਗਈ ਹੈ
Surrey property owner gets notice for breaking city building bylaws. Surrey City Council has filed a notice on a property it says violates city building bylaws. Surrey Mayor Brenda Locke says that the owner of the property located near 126th Street and 76th Street Avenue has built 3 additional suites on top of their original home without any building permits. She says the owner seemed to have ignored stop work orders from bylaw inspectors for over 2 years and the issue recently returned to the city. The city then decided to put a red flag on their property title. This is really a public safety issue, she said. This owner built 3 full suites, 3 full kitchens, wiring and plumbing, and all those things that go along with a full development. Locke says it was a significant add-on, claiming it was more than doubling the size of the home. The mayor says anyone planning to make changes to their property must get a permit before they make any additions to their house. You can only improve if a fire were to happen. If there was a fire in that premises, it would spread like crazy, she said. This is now a multi-story house. It went from a very small footprint to a very large footprint. Locke says it is significant to have reputable people do the work. As of now, the city has no idea who built that house, what was in the wall, what was in the wiring. There is no way that the city would know that without having a permit, she said. The mayor says anyone else can purchase this property, but it may be difficult for them to get a mortgage or insurance. You can't just build whatever you want on your property and think that it's not going to import future homeowners, she said. This is a very big issue. Locke explains that in the future, the owner of this property could face issues if they decide to sell or refinance the property. It will give notice to anybody that this property has a risk assessment on it, the mayor said. Locke says there are far too many people who have stop work orders on their properties in Surrey. She says often people rip off the orders and ignore them. They don't respond to the bylaw officers when they knock on the door, and so we are just taking action with that kind of behavior, she said. Locke says that the owner of this property had already received penalties, $5,000, because of the bylaws they breached, but having this on their property title is a whole different ballgame. Illegal construction not only possesses serious safety risk, but also erodes the integrity of building regulations. The legal measures we have taken with protect neighborhoods, future homeowners, and uphold the standards that make Surrey a safe and vibrant place to live for all. I would like to thank the illegal construction enforcement team for their diligent efforts in this critical work, the mayor said in a release on Tuesday. The city of Surrey says to file a complaint about any construction suspected to have been done without permits. Anyone can email bylawcomplaint@surrey.ca or call 604-591-4370. It says complaints can also be submitted online through the Report a Problem application.
ਸਰੀ ਦੀ ਮਿਊਨਿਸਪੈਲਿਟੀ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਖੁਲਾਸਾ ਕੀਤਾ। ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਕਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ 126 ਤੇ 76 ਦੇ ਕਰੀਬ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 3 ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਯੂਨਿਟਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਬਿਨਾਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਪਰਮਿਟ ਦੇ ਬਣਾਈਆਂ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਥੋੜੀ ਵੱਡੀ ਐਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਲਕਿ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਡੀ ਐਡੀਸ਼ਨ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਬਹੁਤੇਰੇ ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ ਇਲੀਗਲ ਜਾਂ ਅਣਅਧਿਕਾਰਤ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਆ, ਔਰ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਿਸ ਨੇ ਕੀਤੀ, ਕਿ ਉਹ ਕੁਆਲੀਫਾਈਡ ਵੀ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਕਿ ਇਹ ਸੁਰੱਖਿਅਤ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਨਹੀਂ, ਇਸ ਦਾ ਕੋਈ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬਿਊਰਾ ਹੈ ਕਿਸੇ ਪਾਸੇ ਨਹੀਂ, ਜਿਸ ਕਰਕੇ ਮੌਰਗੇਜ ਤੇ ਇੰਸ਼ੋਰੈਂਸ ਦੇ ਮਿਲਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਹੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਦਿੱਕਤ ਹੋ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸੇ ਵੀ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਕਤਾਈਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਟਾਈਟਲ 'ਤੇ ਚਲੀਆਂ ਜਾਂਦੀਆਂ ਤਾਂ ਇਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀਆਂ ਪ੍ਰਾਪਰਟੀਆਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਵੇਚਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕਠਿਨਾਈਆਂ ਵੱਡੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਆਉਂਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਮੇਅਰ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਗੱਲ ਦਾ ਵੀ ਖੁਲਾਸਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਪਾਸ ਹੋਰ ਕੋਈ ਚਾਰਾ ਹੈ ਨਹੀਂ ਸੀ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਬਾਇਲਾ ਆਫਿਸਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਵੀ ਸਟਾਪ ਵਰਕ ਦਾ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਲਾ ਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ ਜਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਪਾੜ ਕੇ ਸੁੱਟ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਤੇ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਜਾਰੀ ਰੱਖੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਹਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਨੋਟਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਸੀਰੀਅਸਲੀ ਨਹੀਂ ਲਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ।
Father son charged for alleged terrorist activities in GTA were planning violent attack in Toronto. The Royal Canadian Mounted Police RCMP says a father and a son in the Greater Toronto Area GTA were recently arrested for alleged terrorist activities involving the Islamic State ISIS were planning a violent attack in Toronto. Ahmed Fawad Mustafa Ali Didi, 62, and his 26-year-old son Mustafa Al Didi are both charged with participation in the activities of a terrorist group identified as the Islamic State. Ahmed Al-Didi and Mustafa Al-Didi were also charged with facilitating terrorist activity and conspiracy to commit murder. The pair are facing weapon offenses for being in possession of a machete and axe, and Ahmed Fawad Mustafa Al-Didi was charged with aggravated assault. Last weekend, RCMP arrested the father and the son at a hotel in Richmond Hill, alleging they were the advanced stages of planning a serious violent attack in Toronto. The intended targets of the attack are unclear as the RCMP refused to comment further given an active publication ban. The RCMP said the machete and axe were in their possession at the time of their arrest. Over the weekend, it's unclear if additional charges will be laid. RCMP Assistant Commissioner Matt Braggs of the Central Region of Policing said that between July 1st and July 29, 2024, the two accused allegedly facilitated terrorist activities and knowingly assisted ISIS. The RCMP also alleges that the two men were conspiring to commit terrorist activity while in Toronto, York Region, and other parts of the province, including the GTA. It's believed the father and the son came to Canada on a previous date. The RCMP said there is no active threat to the public. Ahmed Al-Didi and Mustafa Al-Didi will make a virtual court appearance on Thursday. I'm very proud of the impressive team efforts that made these arrests possible, said Pags. I also want to thank our law enforcement partners in the INSAT group for their invaluable assistance. The RCMP Federal Police take all threats to our national security very seriously. This was an imminent threat and we are able to prevent serious injuries or loss of life.
ਟੋਰਾਂਟੋ ਵਿਖੇ 62 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਿਓ ਤੇ ਉਸਦੇ ਪੁੱਤਰ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਆਈਸਿਸ ਦੇ ਸਹਿਯੋਗ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸ਼ਹਿਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਨ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਿੰਸਕ ਹਮਲੇ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਰਦਾਫਾਸ਼ ਹੋਇਆ। ਦੱਸਿਆ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਿਰਫ ਔਰ ਸਿਰਫ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਹੀਂ ਬਲਕਿ GTA ਦੇ ਇਲਾਕੇ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਵੱਲੋਂ ਹਿੰਸਕ ਹਮਲੇ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਿੰਸਕ ਕਾਰਗੁਜ਼ਾਰੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਮਨਸੂਬੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਸਨ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਪਾਸੋਂ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਚਾਰਜਸ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਕਾਤਲਾਨਾ ਹਮਲਾ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ ਮਸ਼ੈਟੀ ਤੇ ਕਹਾੜੀ ਵਰਗੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਹਥਿਆਰ ਨੇ ਬਰਾਮਦ ਕੀਤੇ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਦੀ ਨਾਲ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਅਟੈਕ ਕਰਨ ਦੇ ਮੁਸਤਫਾ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਚਾਰਜਸ ਲਗਾਏ ਗਏ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਹਿਰਾਸਤ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਲੈ ਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ।
TSB to release report on ship fire and containers lost off BC's coast. The Transportation Safety Board will release its report today on the fire and loss of more than 100 containers from a cargo ship off British Columbia's coast. The containers fell off MV Zim Kingston in October 2021 as it set off the west coast of Vancouver Island and a storm blew in, bringing strong winds. The Kingston moved to the waters of Victoria, then days later a fire erupted in one of the containers and spread on the ship, taking several days to put out. Just 4 of the 109 containers that tumbled from the ship were found, although debris ranging from refrigerators to blow-up unicorns continued to wash up on BC's beaches. A Common Standing Committee report released in October of 2022 made 29 recommendations as it warned the federal government, provinces and coastal communities were not operationally prepared to manage marine cargo container spills. Kathy Fawkes, the chair of the Transportation Safety Board, will be releasing the report. This report by the Canadian Press was first published July 31st, 2024.
2021 ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਮੁੰਦਰੀ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 109 ਕੰਟੇਨਰਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ 4 ਹੀ ਬਚੇ ਸੀ। ਬਾਕੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸੀ ਕੰਟੇਨਰ ਉਹ ਪਾਣੀ ਦੇ ਹਵਾਲੇ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਨ ਔਰ ਬੜੇ ਲੰਮੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਤੱਕ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਵੀ ਸਮਾਨ ਸੀ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਰਿੱਜਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦਾ ਘਰ ਦਾ ਨਿੱਜੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਮਾਨ ਆ ਉਹ ਸਮੁੰਦਰੀ ਕੰਢਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਾਸ਼ ਆਊਟ ਹੋਇਆ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਔਰ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਅੱਜ ਰਿਪੋਰਟਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਆਉਣੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਬਾਹਰ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ ਮਸਲਾ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਭਾਰਾ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਸਮੁੰਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਖੜਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜਹਾਜ਼ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅੱਗ ਲੱਗ ਜਾਣ ਦੇ ਕਾਰਨ ਡੁੱਬ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ ਔਰ ਕੰਟੇਨਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਨ ਉਹ ਸਾਰੇ ਦੇ ਸਾਰੇ ਸਮੁੰਦਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਹਿਰਾਂ ਦੀ ਭੇਂਟ ਹੋ ਗਏ ਸਨ।
Winner of Vancouver's celebration of light fireworks competition announced. The winner of Vancouver's annual celebration of lights fireworks contest has been chosen. Representing the United Kingdom, Team Pyrotex Fireworks was declared the winner on Wednesday after the team claimed both the People's Choice and the Judges' Competition awards. Organisers say the UK team bested stiff competition from Team Macedo Paraxina representing Malaysian and Team Pyrotect from Portugal. Each participating country mesmerized attendees with an amazing choreographed fireworks display. A spokesperson for the 2024 Honda Celebration of Light said in a statement. However, the UK was fully deserving of the honor with their breathtaking burst of color while pushing creative boundaries and wowing the hundreds of thousands of people in attendance. The spectacle was held over 3 nights, July 20th, 24 and 27, and in a festival first included an aerial drone shown before each fireworks performance. Kelly Goulet, president of Archangel Fireworks Incorporation, credited the UK team's soundtrack, super light timing and show full of earnings the award. The organization says more than 1 million people made their way down to English Bay to watch the performances.
ਪਿਛਲੀ ਜੁਲਾਈ 2024 ਤੇ 27 ਨੂੰ ਹੋਏ ਦਾਰਸ਼ਨਿਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਪ੍ਰਦਰਸ਼ਨ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਇਹ ਲਾਈਟਾਂ ਦੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਮਲੇਸ਼ੀਆ ਅਤੇ ਪੁਰਤਗਾਲ ਦੀਆਂ ਟੀਮਾਂ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਹ ਤੇ ਹਾਰ ਗਈਆਂ, ਪਰ ਪਹਿਲੇ ਨੰਬਰ ਤੇ ਇੰਗਲੈਂਡ ਦੀ ਟੀਮ ਆਈ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਾਇਰਵਰਕਸ ਦੇ ਨਜ਼ਾਰੇ ਸਨ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ 1 ਮਿਲੀਅਨ ਤੋਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਦਾ ਆਨੰਦ ਮਾਣਿਆ।
I absolutely felt threatened, former VPT executive speaks out, alleging workplace toxicity and complicity. She spent nearly 20 years working for the Vancouver Police Department, and now the woman at the center of a lawsuit is speaking publicly about threatening environment she claims to have experienced and the alleged inaction of management. Sharmini D, who went to Sharm Thygraph Raja for much of her career, sat down with in an interview where she provided more details and fresh allegations in addition to what she spelled out in the 16 pages notice of civil claim filed by her lawyers on Friday.
ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਇਹ ਵੈਨਕੂਵਰ ਪੁਲਿਸ ਡਿਪਾਰਟਮੈਂਟ ਦੇ ਸਿਵਲ ਸੂਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਜੀ, ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਸਾਬਕਾ EMPLOYE ਨੇ, ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਸਨੇ ਪਬਲਿਕਲੀ ਜਨਤਾ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜਿਸ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਉਹ ਕੰਮ ਕਰਦੀ ਸੀ ਜਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਕੰਮ ਵਾਲੀ ਥਾਂ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵਿਵਹਾਰ ਹੋਇਆ, ਉਸ ਦਾ ਖੁਲਾਸਾ ਜਨਤਕ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਪੂਰੇ ਡਿਟੇਲ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਸ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਉਹ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ 16 ਸਫ਼ਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਸਿਵਲ ਕਲੇਮ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਕੋਰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਫਾਈਲ ਕਰ ਚੁੱਕੀ ਹੈ।
Changes are coming to mortgage rules. Will they help you afford a new home? New mortgage rules from the federal government taking effect Thursday won't move the needle, according to some experts in the housing industry. As of August 1st, first-time home buyers will have 30 years to pay off their insured mortgage, which is required when a down payment is less than 20% of the home price. However, the policy will only apply to newly built homes. Honestly, it's not going to move the needle, said Frank Napolitano of Mortgage Brokers Ottawa in an interview. I think I'll help few people, but not very many at this point. On a $500,000 mortgage, Napolitano said a 30-year amortization period could help lower monthly payments by $250, but he doesn't think it's significant enough. We're talking about interest rates that are still pretty elevated and young Canadians that are struggling to come up with a down payment without the bank of mom and dad, Napolitano said. Under the current rules, the longest allowable amortization, the time a homeowner has to repay their mortgage, is 25 years. The Liberal government announced a change in April's federal budget as part of a suite of measures to address Canada's housing crisis. Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland touted the policy's benefits in Toronto earlier this week. This is just one of several measures that our government is taking to help younger Canadians save for the first down payment and afford a home of their own, Freeland said at a news conference on Monday. According to the Canadian Housing and Mortgage Corporation, in the last half of 2023, only 17% of mortgages in Canada were insured. The Bank of Canada reports first-time home buyers accounted for less than half, 44% of the home purchases in the first quarter of this year. There are also questions about whether first-time home buyers will want to buy a new build. With all the length of time that is often involved if one wants to buy a new condo or pre-construction condo, it can take years for that, so it's probably not for everybody, said Robert Hogue, Assistant Chief Economist for RBC. Hogue doesn't believe the changes to amortization are a silver bullet to fix the housing crisis, but rather than incremental measures as part of a suite for housing measures, especially since the new changes will not apply to properties worth more than $1 million. This is a limiting factor in the high expensive markets like Toronto and Vancouver. But Hogue also said extending the amortization fee for new builds will help increase the housing supply. In our view, it really lies at the core of the issue, he said. We need to grow our supply homes in Canada given the demand is so large. In a statement in April following the federal government's announcement of the changes, the CEO of the Canadian Home Builders Association, Kevin Lee, called the policy a game changer, adding this measure will also go a long way to enable our sector to respond to the government's goal of getting 5.8 million new homes built over the next decade. But one Ottawa area home builder is reporting just 2 new sales as a result of the program. It's not enough, said Valecraft Homes owner Frank Newcoop of the longer amortizing period. I think the government needs to do more. He also said the new measure a first step, but he would like to see changes to the so-called street test, which is the threshold and determines if someone will be able to pay for their mortgage if interest rates rise. Rather than forcing people to qualify that stress test, if they qualify at a certain amount, make them lock it for X number of years. If they break that, well, then they have to pay the penalty. The change to the amortization period is just one of the number of measures the federal government has introduced to address the housing crisis. As of April 16, the amount first-time home buyers are able to withdraw from the RRSP increased from $35,000 to $60,000. The federal government also launched the First Home Savings Account last year, which Freeland said has been 750,000 Canadians sign up. Earlier this year, the federal government unveiled its plan to build nearly 4 million homes by 2031. The CMHC has previously said Canada needs to build 5.8 million homes by 2030 to restore housing affordability.
ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਦੀ ਬੇਸ਼ੱਕ ਹਾਊਸਿੰਗ ਅਫੋਰਡੇਬਿਲਟੀ ਦਾ ਵੱਡਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਸਲਾ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਤੇ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੱਥ ਪਾਉਣ ਦੀਆਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ਾਂ ਤਾਂ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਵੱਡਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਘਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਮੋੜ ਕੇ ਜਾਂ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਲੈਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਮੋੜਨ ਦਾ ਸਮਾਂ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ 25 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਨੂੰ ਐਮੋਰਟਾਈਜ਼ੇਸ਼ਨ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾਂਦਾ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਵਧਾ ਕੇ ਅਗਰ 30 ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ ਤਾਂ ਉਹ ਵਿਅਕਤੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਤਕਰੀਬਨ ਅੱਜ ਦੇ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਉਹ 5 ਲੱਖ ਦਾ ਕਰਜ਼ਾ ਚੁੱਕਦਾ ਆਪਣਾ ਘਰ ਲੈਣ ਦੇ ਲਈ ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਗਰ ਉਸਨੇ 20% ਡਾਊਨ ਪੇਮੈਂਟ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਹੋਈ ਆ ਤਾਂ ਉਹਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ 30 ਸਾਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਐਮੋਰਟਾਈਜ਼ੇਸ਼ਨ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਅੱਜ ਦੀ ਵਿਆਜ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਆਧਾਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ $250 ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਉਹ ਪੇਮੈਂਟ ਬਣਦੀ ਹੈ। ਪਰ ਬਦਲਦੇ ਹਾਲਾਤਾਂ ਦੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆ ਉਹ ਬਿਲਕੁਲ ਵੱਖਰੀ ਹੋਏਗੀ। ਨਿਰਸੰਦੇਹ ਫੈਡਰਲ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੀਆਂ ਇਹ ਜਿਹੜੀਆਂ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਵਾਕਈ ਅਸਰ ਪਾ ਸਕਣਗੀਆਂ, ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿ ਉਮੀਦ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਐਮੋਰਟਾਈਜ਼ੇਸ਼ਨ ਦਾ ਪੀਰੀਅਡ ਵਧਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਇਸ ਖੇਤਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਫਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਬਾਇਰਸ ਨੇ ਲੋਕ ਉਹ ਵੱਡਾ ਇੰਟਰਸਟ ਦਿਖਾਉਣਗੇ। ਔਰ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਸਵਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਉੱਠਦਾ ਕਿ ਕੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਫਸਟ ਟਾਈਮ ਬਾਇਰ ਆ ਕੀ ਉਹ ਨਵੀਂ ਕੰਸਟਰਕਸ਼ਨ ਆ ਖਰੀਦਣੀ ਚਾਹੇਗਾ।
BC Conservatives virtually tied with BC NDP in latest poll. A new poll suggests the BC Conservatives have effectively closed the gap on the BC NDP's lead ahead of the next provincial election. That's according to a sample of 801 British Columbians polled by research company, of whom 41% said they would support David Eby's governing New Democratic Party. Meanwhile, support for the Joan Rustard-led BC Conservative Party has jumped from a reported 33% to 38%. The race has tightened considerably in southern BC, where the BC NDP and the BC Conservatives are virtually tied, said research company President Mario Canseco. In June, the BC New Democrats were 11 points ahead of the BC Conservatives in the region of British Columbia. Political analyst and co-host of the Politicoast broadcast Ian Bushfeld says that support for the BC Conservatives are likely became as strong as it will before the election. They've definitely reached probably as much support as they can get of BC United, although I think there's still 9 or 10 points of movement that could happen there. I would still give the advantage to the BC NDP given the vote-rich areas of Metro Vancouver and the island favor for the government, said Bushfeld. The BC Green Party remains in the third place, down 5 points to 10% of the polled voters, followed closely by the officials' opposition party, BC United, holding 9%. Research company's last poll was the first in which BC Greens overtook BC United voters, were polled between July 23rd and July 25th, before another long-standing BC United Party MLA Teresa Watt defected to join the BC Conservatives on Monday. Research company says all four major party leaders have dripped in the polls. EB's approval rating is down to 48%. Rustard's is down to 39%. BC Greens leader Sonia Fatsano is down to 35% and BC United leader Kevin Falcon is down to 29%. The BC election is scheduled for October 19th.
ਨਵੀਆਂ ਪੋਲਸ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਤੇ BC NDP ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੈ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਦੀ ਪਸੰਦੀਦਾ ਦਰ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਲ ਖਹਿ ਕੇ ਚੱਲ ਰਹੀਆਂ। ਫਸਵਾਂ ਮੁਕਾਬਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮੁਕਾਬਲੇ ਤੇ ਪਹੁੰਚ ਗਈਆਂ ਨੇ ਦੋਵੇਂ ਪਾਰਟੀਆਂ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਮੁਤਲਕ ਕਿਹਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਅਗਾਊਂ ਸਮਿਆਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਰਾਜਨੀਤਿਕ ਸਮੀਕਰਨ ਨੇ 19 ਅਕਤੂਬਰ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਲੀ BC ਦੀ ਸੂਬਾ ਵਿਧਾਨ ਸਭਾ ਦੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੱਡਾ ਅਸਰ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਪਾ ਸਕਦੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੀ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਦਿਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ BC ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਦੀ MLA ਟਰੀਸਾ ਨੇ ਵੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਰੁਖ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਦਲ ਲਿਆ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ BC ਕੰਜ਼ਰਵੇਟਿਵ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਨੂੰ ਜੁਆਇਨ ਕਰ ਲਿਆ।
BC United Party moves to add formally the Liberals on October ballot. When you head to the polls in October, you'll likely see one beleaguered party attempting to clarify who it is on the ballot. BC United has faced some challenges since it officially changed its name from the BC Liberal Party last year, and it would appear things haven't significantly improved. Recent polling of BCU's membership found that about 30% of supporters didn't know BC United was the party's name now. They either had no idea the party changed its name, or they thought the Liberals were now the BC Conservatives. As such, the party is going to ask to be referred as BC United, formerly the BC Liberal Party, on the ballot come October. Elections BC says parties can apply to have their ballots name changed. Generally, these requests are approved, though we do review each request to ensure the requirements of the Election Act have been met. The Act does not specifically prohibit a party from listing its former name on the ballot, a statement reads. While the Kevin Falcon-led BC United hopes the additional will help in the provincial vote, Ian Bushfield, host of the Politico's broadcast, isn't sure how much of a difference it will make. That incumbency is one of the advantages that it has been for a while. People are looking for a change and differences. So even with the BC Liberals brand, they were struggling in 2017 and they were struggling worse in 2020. I don't think it would make a difference even if they fully renamed to BC Liberals at this point, because people have moved on and they associate that with the kind of dislike of the politics of 2001 to 2017, and they want to see something different, he said on Tuesday. His comments came the same day the latest polling from research company, but BC United at fourth place with just 9% support. The BC Greens were ahead in third, while the BC Conservatives were second, only 3 points behind the BC NDP. They also came a day after another long-standing BC United Party MLA Teresa Watt defected to join the BC Conservatives.
ਇੱਕ ਮਸਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਤੇ ਸਾਬਕਾ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਕਿ ਹੁਣ BC ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਂ ਹੇਠ ਹੈ, ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਪਛਾਣ ਹੀ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਰਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਔਰ ਹੁਣ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ BC ਦੇ ਸਾਹਮਣੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਕੇਸ ਫਾਈਲ ਕੀਤਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੇ ਨਾਂ ਨਾਲ BC ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਬਕਾ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦਾ ਹਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਉਹ ਵੀ ਇਲੈਕਸ਼ਨ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਵੋਟ ਪਾਉਣ ਵਾਲਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪੇਪਰ ਆ ਉਹਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਜ਼ਰੂਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਜਾਵੇ। ਯਾਦ ਰਹੇ BC ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਦੇ ਨਵੇਂ ਨਾਮਕਰਨ ਤੋਂ ਬਾਅਦ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪਛਾਣ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਨਾਕਾਮਯਾਬ ਬੜੀ ਬੁਰੀ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਹਰ ਪ੍ਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਹੱਥ ਪੱਲੇ ਮਾਰੇ ਗਏ ਔਰ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾਤਰ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਦੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਮੈਂਬਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਨਹੀਂ ਪਤਾ ਕਿ BC ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਕੀ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਸਾਬਕਾ BC ਲਿਬਰਲ ਪਾਰਟੀ ਹੀ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਕੁਛ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਮੰਨਣਾ कि शायद ਹੁਣ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ नाम बदल के BC कंजर्वेटिव हो गया है।
इसी के साथ खबरों द लेखा जोखा प्रोग्राम से हमें दीजिएगा इजाजत। Until next time, goodbye and be safe.